next.
We don't have an author on this one, but what are your thoughts on freakishly strong guys in BJJ who go too hard, get hurt, then paint it as if it's your fault? Because this guy rolled with the Maniac tonight.
The guy that rolled with the Maniac. So we've all been there when we're rolling with the Maniac. Okay, so this is this seems like a pretty straightforward question at first. Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden it gets really complicated. It really does. Who is at fault here, right? So you're rolling with a guy's super strong. You catch him in the submission, and guess what? He doesn't want to tap. And so the next thing you know, there's a little pop, there's a little crack, whatever, and you got an injury, and the big guy that was going all crazy, he's like, I can't believe you did this. Mm-hmm. So the question is, who's at fault? And there's actually two sides to that story in a lot of ways, because in one way, the higher belt, right, or a more experienced guy should never really hurt a lower belt, right? I mean, if I'm a black belt and I'm going against a purple belt, I really shouldn't hurt that person, because if I do, I probably meant to do it. I mean, of course, there's, mistakes happen, and I'm talking about submission, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about, hey, I went over and it made you roll your ankle, or you caught your wrist as you were falling out, or something like that. Those are just incidental, things that happen in jiu-jitsu. But so the higher belt generally shouldn't be like putting someone in a submission and hurting them, because experienced guys in jiu-jitsu, they know when the tension is there on the arm or the foot or the knee. They know that tension means the next amount of pressure is going to take this beyond the limit of the joint, and you're going to have an injury. Mm-hmm. So if the big guy, he's going psycho, and he's got a big ego, and that's why he's not tapping. So that must be his fault, right? Mm-hmm. Well, at the same time, if someone doesn't tap and then you hurt them, well, that's kind of jacked up too, because you shouldn't be getting someone's foot and cranking it, or getting their arm and cranking it when maybe they couldn't tap, maybe their arm was stuck or whatever. Now all of a sudden you hurt them. Mm-hmm. So I really do think it's both. I think both people are at fault. Yeah. And I think that part of the dual safety mechanisms in jiu-jitsu is that there's two people that can control the situation. Yeah. The one that's getting submitted should tap, and the one that's doing the submission should know to stop before the injury occurs. Mm-hmm. Again, there's about a million little things that can happen where you get injured in jiu-jitsu. There's arm locks that get thrown on, and it's a little tweak, and that stuff does happen. But when I look at Dean Lister, who's my main training partner, I've been training with for 20 years, we've put literally thousands and thousands of submissions on each other, and neither one of us has ever hurt the other one. And neither one of us has ever gotten hurt from a submission. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking thousands of submissions. Of course, most of those are him submitting me. Mm-hmm. But, I've submitted him many, many times as well. Mm-hmm. And never have one of us got a submission on the other one and hurt the other person. And I can tell you, he's let go of hundreds of submissions on me, and I've let go on many submissions on him, because I go, you know what? Oh, I've got this. He's not tapping for whatever reason. I'm gonna go to the next move, mm-hmm. Or he gets me in some weird position. He's got it, but he lets go and goes to the next move. And what's really cool about this is what you end up with an ego-free training, mm-hmm. because the truth of the matter is, I don't care if Dean taps me. And I don't care if I tap Dean, and he doesn't care if he taps me, and he doesn't care if he gets the tap from me. So what we are able to do then is take all kinds of risks and do all kinds of crazy flow drills, and where we're really trying to get each other, but at the same time, we really don't care. Right. And the biggest dichotomy of that is, I'm sitting here saying I don't want to get tapped, or I don't care if I get tapped by Dean, but it drives me crazy when I get tapped. Right. By Dean. It drives me crazy. You can hear it. Sometimes in the gym, I'll be like, I get frustrated because I got tapped, but it's frustrated at myself, and it's frustration in the game and whatever, but it's not it's not my ego being like, I didn't want to tap. It's just a frustration that I made a mistake or whatever. So that allows you to really learn more. Now, all this being said, if someone's just a big maniac that goes crazy the whole time and they're going to hurt you, well, then you got to make a decision that you're not going to roll with them.
Right.
I mean, clearly, you want to not get hurt. You want to continue training. So someone that goes crazy and is super strong, you don't want to roll with them. That being said, and this whole thing has been a non-answer, isn't it? That being said, but when you do that, you've got to understand that you're avoiding a real issue. You're avoiding a big, strong guy, and how are you going to deal with that guy? And you will get better dealing with the big, strong guy. That's what makes you. That's one of the key things to get you better at jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. So, you want to train with the big, strong guys, but that being said, once again, is if you train with a big guy and you get hurt, then you can't train anymore.
Right.
So you got to be smart. You got to use your judgment. You got to check your ego. You got to roll with people that have their egos checked. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the best way to answer that. It's a long answer. It's probably not the most complete answer, but there is no clear-cut answer because there's a lot of little nuances to every little roll in the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it seems like there's so many exceptions to all these situations. Even when you say a higher belt should never hurt a lower belt, a lot of times that can just depend. Like, what if you're not that much higher and he's bigger than you and more athletic, and when you go for a submission really controlled or whatever, he's spazzing the whole time.
Yeah.
So even in your transitions, he's spazzing. So really, the only way you can get that submission is if you go fast and hard to get it. Slap it right on, right? And let's say you do it, and in the midst of your armbar, in the midst of you slapping it on, you kind of extend it too much, boom, you hurt him. You know? So it's really just the nature of the roll. And a lot of times it's nobody's fault. That's just how. Two guys going crazy who care about the submissions they're getting. It happens. And
but yeah, you shouldn't care about so much about the submissions you're getting. That's the bottom line.
Well, unless and Greg brought this up, where he said you should care. You should care about the submissions you get, and you should care about being able to resist submissions as well, because it's kind of your response. And this would understand the context we're talking. We're talking about like me and him and the guys that I was talking about, I was rolling with. He said it's your job to give them an accurate look. If you're a big guy who's, you come in and you're, however big and athletic, you have to give them that look. And you have a certain skill level in jiu-jitsu, you got to give them that look. So you provide an accurate experience of rolling with a guy who's, 215 pounds, brown belt. You have to give him that look.
No, that's true. So he's saying you can't go easy.
You can't go easy. You can't. He's not saying you can't. He's saying, but if you put on a submission and that guy's not tapping, he's just giving you an accurate look that your submission isn't submitting him. You're not submitting him. You're not tapping him out. Yeah. And if he's tough and likes the pain or is not scared of the pain, well, that's the look he's giving you. So you have to complete the move. Hey, if you're not going to break his arm, if you have that mindset, that's good too. But then you have to work on other situations that you would do in that situation. So if you want to just control the fight more or something like that, then that's what you got to do. But it is his job to give you that look.
That is something that Dean and I will do that I think is awesome is, let's say Dean puts a heel hook on me. Mm-hmm. And instead of cranking it and making me tap, he'll hold it.
Yeah.
And when he holds it, it gives me an opportunity to work some kind of escape. Now, sometimes he'll hold it, and while he's holding it, he's adjusting his legs, and he's actually getting me deeper and deeper into it where I can't get out anymore. And eventually I realize I can't move and tap, not because of the pressure, not because of the pain, because I realize it's checkmate and the game over.
Yeah.
The same token is, as he's holding it, if I can figure out, I have time to think and consider and go, oh, what if I put my foot here? What if I grab this arm here? What if I spin this way or that way? And all of a sudden a real escape opens up. But I had time to think about it. Well, maybe next time I do it, I don't have to think, and now we actually have figured out an escape from the position.
Yeah.
And or either I figured out an escape, or maybe he figured out the way to finish it with 100% reliability.
Right.
So we actually have advanced that's probably the original advancement in the leg lock game for Dean and me, was and really for Dean, more than me, was him holding a submission and not and allowing me to try different things to escape and shutting him down. And then eventually where I was like, okay, now I've got you in a position where there is no escape.
Gotcha, yeah.
And that's how things like we end up with like the 4-11 and Ultimate Game Over. All that stuff came from holding those positions. Because if he just locked him on and cranked it, well, then I tap and then we start again. But he didn't have to adjust anything. And now you start building technique on top of technique on top of technique.